Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, Twitch chat, and welcome back to Let Us Play. I'm your host, Father Evan. It's good to be back with y'all today. Hope everyone's having a good day. Today we're going to be diving into a Spirituality Tuesday. We're changing up the schedule now. Hey, Britt, good to see ya. Glad you have headphones this time. Yeah, we're changing up the schedule now. Tuesdays is going to be Spirituality Day. Wednesday is going to be midweek Minecraft starting not this week, not next week, but the week after that. And Thursday is now going to be Retro Day, except this week, because of the 4th of July, I'll be doing it tomorrow at 1 o'clock, because why would anything be normal? But anyway, it should be a fun time. We're diving into a game I'm curious about. I don't really know that much about it. I know it's a board game originally, and this is a digital version. It's called Kings of Israel. It takes place in the era of the divided kingdom of Israel and Judah. So yeah, let's dive in. Let's make ourselves a profile. Yes, I do want the tutorial. I am not experienced. Normal only exists in our imagination. Fair. Oh, good. You got back from the dentist just in time. Well, I hope it went well at the dentist, and I hope it's the last time you have to go to the dentist for a while.
Welcome to the Kings of Israel tutorial. Kings of Israel is a game that takes place in ancient Israel during the time of the kings. You will be in charge of a team of prophets trying to remove evil from Israel while building the altars needed to win the game.
Okay.
This tutorial will help you learn the basics of Kings of Israel, such as the various rounds of the game, events that your team may face, and the actions available to everyone on your team.
I'm doing well, Britt. It's been a good weekend and a week.
This is a map that shows ancient Israel and many of its locations. Around the edges are the neighboring nations. You may zoom in and out of this map using the right mouse button. To move the camera around
odd.
the map, move the mouse to the edge of the screen, or use the arrow keys.
Yeah, so we have Philistia, Ethiopia, Judah, the other Jewish nation at this time, Ammon, Aram, Phoenicia, Assyria.
To win the game, 7 to 9 altars need to be built by your team of prophets. If your team of prophets do not build the required altars before Israel is destroyed, you lose.
Wait, 7 to 9? Why wouldn't it just be 7? I'm confused. Unless there's something that, like, turns off altars? Also, the fact that we're building altars is fascinating. I'll come back to that. Found out that you need 1 filling next week. Ah! 1 more. Oof. After getting a lot of dental work done over the last few months. Don't have to go again for a while. Nice.
In addition, it is very important to prevent evil from covering the land. Evil is represented by idols and sin clouds on the map. If either the spare idols or spare sin clouds counter reaches 0, then you lose the game.
I know I've had those days where I have a sin cloud over me and it's gone after confession. Oh, Gale has redeemed a father joke. Hey, Gale. Why does the sun not need to go to college? It already has 28 million degrees.
Each member of your team of prophets comes from a different location within Israel, and each prophet has a different special ability that can be used to help you win the game.
Okay.
There are 4 phases in every round of Kings of Israel. King's Godliness phase, Sin Increases phase, Prophet's Work phase, and the Round phase.
I want to make another confession joke here, but I'm not sure how to make it.
Let's begin with the King's Godliness phase. To your left
I
is
seem
the
to remember
timeline of Northern Kingdom kings, and each king represents a new game round. The good kings are indicated by a white or blue label. Every time a good king leads over Israel, your team will receive a blessing card that round, which will help your team to win the game.
Okay, so this is fascinating. So we have Saul, David, Solomon, but then that's when the kingdom got divided, and now historically, archaeologists are actually split on the idea of the divided kingdoms. Hey, Jake, welcome in. Glad you're here. But it is interesting that starting us with Saul when the kingdom's already divided, so it's a little wow. It's also I don't play the king, which I thought, based on the title Kings of Israel, I might, but apparently not. Ammonites driven out, remove all sin clouds and idols from Jabesh Gilead. Okay.
The bad kings are indicated by a black or red label. Every time a bad king leads over Israel, your team will receive a sin and punishment card that round. This sin and punishment card represents bad things happening in Israel, and these events will make your life more difficult.
It usually does.
One special note: the blue and red labeled kings are short-lived kings. In the Bible, they did not reign over Israel very long, so in Kings of Israel, they are either skipped or a shortened turn is processed, depending on the number of prophets played.
Wait, why is David blue? I thought... Oh, wait. Ooh, what? Ishbosheth? I have never heard of Ishbosheth. I'm guessing advisor to Saul, who took over for a short period.
After the king's godliness phase is the sin increases phase. During the sin increases phase, several locations are drawn from the location deck, and each one will receive a sin cloud.
No, not Samaria.
When a nation is drawn from the location deck, sin clouds will spread from that nation to each neighboring location.
Oh, okay. So if I get a sin from Aram?
Idols are created in the place
Ishbosheth
where the
is
most
Saul's son.
evil
Okay.
is occurring.
I'm sure
If
I have
three or
actually
more
heard the
sin
name.
clouds would be
but-
placed in a location that does not have an idol is also placed at that
Eshbal.
location.
Maybe I've heard that name more. I will admit that especially like when we start getting to all these kings, I do not know the details of the history nearly as well as I should like. If three or more sin clouds are placed at a location that does not have an idol is placed there. Sin makes idols. No, not
If a sin
Megiddo.
cloud is added to a location that already has
I know
an
more of
idol,
the theology
evil
of
will
like the
spread,
minor prophets and what was
each
going on
adjacent location
in that time
will
than
also
necessarily
receive
particular
a sin
names.
cloud. A location can never receive more than one sin cloud per card drawn.
Crank up my Bible study. I'm about to learn yet.
After the sin increases phase is the prophet's work phase.
Yeah, the prophets have their work cut out for them.
On each prophet's turn, that prophet receives 4 action points that he can use to do good things in Israel. The active prophet is always shown a little bigger than the other prophets.
Son of Shame. Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Ishbal being son of Baal would name their child son of Baal. Yeah.
For his first action, let's move the sailor from his location in Akko down the road to Mount Carmel.
Okay. So move to Mount
For
Carmel.
his second action, let's remove one of the sin clouds in Mount Carmel by preaching to the Israelites. For his third action, let's remove the idol in Mount Carmel. Destroying idols takes 2 action points, so this will be the sailor's last action. Finally, on the bottom right, you will
Prophet
see an
wanna
image for the
smash.
one blessing card available to your team. Any prophet can play blessing cards on their turn, and they do not cost an action. Let's have the sailor play the Ammonites Driven Out card now. Acquiring resources is very important, since resources are needed to build altars, make sacrifices, and move quickly across Israel. Let's have the next prophet draw a card from the resource deck as his first action.
I'm going to turn down the music just a little bit. Oh, come on! I hope that doesn't... I just wanted to... There we go. Resume. Okay, good. I just wanted to turn down the music a little bit.
The travel action allows a prophet to move
I got
up to
grain.
3 times on the road if that prophet discards a grain or cattle resource. Let's move to Chinnereth.
I'm gonna sacrifice a... You're making me sacrifice the
Teamwork
cattle.
is very
I didn't want to
important
sacrifice
in
the
Kings
cattle.
of Israel. One of the best ways to use teamwork is by giving resources from one prophet to another prophet if they are at the same location. Let's have the active prophet give his 2 resources to the other prophet at his location.
Learn the name
This
thing
will
from the
allow
Lord
the
of
next
Spirits
prophet
podcast.
to
2
build
Orthodox
an
priests
altar
talking
on
about
his
weird
turn.
stuff in the Bible and tradition of the church. Started with an hour-long podcast. It's turned into 3 hours. Sounds about right. With random nerdy pop culture references, including the phrase "blood for the blood god." Well, there you go. Okay, so let's give some resources. What?
The
Grain and
rest
gold.
button ends the current prophet's turn and begins the next prophet's turn.
I still have some energy. Why won't you let me preach?
The active prophet now has enough resources to build an altar. Use the Build an Altar action to discard his gold, stone, and wood resources to build an altar at his location. Your team is now 1 step closer to winning.
Many priests are weird. That's something I've noticed. I don't know what you're talking about, Brayherd. We're perfectly normal.
You might have noticed this bar next to the active prophet. This is the prophet action bar, and it decreases whenever an action is performed. The amount the bar goes down when performing an action is displayed below each action button. Let's acquire a resource and watch the bar go down 1 unit. The active prophet now has enough resources to perform the Make a Sacrifice action. To make a sacrifice, that prophet needs to be at an altar's location and then discard a cattle and grain card. Once a sacrifice is performed, it removes all sin clouds in that player's location, along with 1 sin cloud from each adjacent location.
Ooh.
Let's now make a sacrifice. After all of the prophets have completed their turns, the end of round phase begins. In the easiest of game modes, blessing cards are drawn for sacrifices made that round. On the other hand, in the hardest modes, the false prophet will take his turn, causing bad things to happen. Finally, the starting player for the next round changes and a new round begins. Those are the basics of Kings of Israel. You may now begin your campaign
So I can
of
see how
removing evil and
on a
building altars
tabletop
in Israel.
setting, this would be
If after playing you still need help,
cooperative.
try going
Like each
through
of you
this
controls a
tutorial
prophet.
again. The tutorial is found under Settings in the main menu.
Okay, apparently that's it. That was the game. Thanks for the stream, everyone. No, I'm kidding. Your current difficulty level, Jehoahaz. Okay, build 7 altars. Oh, so different ones will have different victory conditions. Before you go now, sin clouds, idols, or Israel is destroyed. Play mode, rank 1. In settings, 2 prophets. Prophets start with 3 sources each. Sacrifices on altar are blessed, so every time I'll draw a card. Some outside nations are not as evil. That's a way to put it. Locations with fewer sin and sin start with fewer sin and sin less often. Good. They need to behave. Reminds me of when I would watch drawing tutorials and they'd be like, I did it. I drew this. Yeah, a little bit. Well, get out there. You do it. Okay, so this prophet has imposing will. New sin clouds cannot appear at his location, and this one is blessed. Start with a bonus blessing card and gains another on the start of King Jehu's round. Just remember, God is watching your progress. Each prophet may immediately move to any location containing an altar. Okay. Rain from heaven. Take 3 grain from the future resources deck and distribute it amongst the profits. Okay. Receive another blessing card in King Jehu's round, which is down here. So that's actually kind of pretty nice to get it about 2/3 of the way through the game. Okay, so currently we're in Gilead. There's an idol here. I guess I probably just want to destroy that idol. Acquire some resources. Ooh, Mount Nebo is looking pretty sinful these days. I might use the grain to travel over to there and preach. But I think I'll... preach in Bethel first. Get from the sea. Each of the seaports will receive a resource. Anyone who starts in or enters one of these may take that resource for free. Darn it, Philistia! Your silly fish Dagon hat. Well, let's preach at Mount Nebo. Let's acquire a resource. Ooh, that lets us build an altar. Absolutely build an altar. I don't know if I want to do a sacrifice here, because it doesn't really do me much. I get a blessing, I guess. I think I'll save those resources, though. I think I'm going to try to move to Joppa. Someone's starting a party in Joppa. Not if I can help it. Gifts from the sea. Oh, we got some stone. Not bad. I don't think you're really going to be able to get to the sea, but I kind of want Blessed to handle the south and Imposing to handle the north. Jaffa Cree! More like Jaffa Cake. Because I think I might travel to Hamath. 2 grain. Preach to clear those out. Gather some resources. And rest. Prophet that uses this gains a second ability. What is that supposed to mean? Ah, yes. Build an altar. Now I'll do a sacrifice, because I'll clear out Tabor and Kabul. Let's acquire a resource, and let's travel north to Hazor. Let's preach. Let's head back to Shiloh. I want to test what this does exactly. If it can give resources, yeah. Some of these abilities, I'm not entirely sure what they're supposed to do. Yeah, we'll gain 3. Put 2 grain there and 1 grain there. 4x religious game, kind of. Altar in Bethel. Any idol in the first prophet's location is immediately removed for free. A permanent effect is also given to the prophet. If they spend an entire turn in Bethel, they may build an altar there for free. Foolish prophets. Any prophet who does not either remove 2 sin clouds or an idol this round has all their resources discarded. Thanks, Jeroboam the First. Moab? Southern Utah? Yeah. Yeah, this is a board game. Like literally, like they've recreated even just the board. Like there's the cards and the decks. So I kind of like a permanent effect is also given to that prophet if they spend their entire turn in Bethel. So since Bethel's pretty close, I feel like he's about to lose all of his resources anyway. Hey, absolutely. Absolutely, Britt. I guess I could travel preach, and that clears out 2 sin clouds, so I'm not. So blessed wouldn't be affected. Burns through some of my grain, but because what are the odds I draw gold anyway? Wait, is Tuesday spirituality now? I thought it was Thursday. It is actually, as of today, actually. Trying something, just changing up the schedule from spirituality Thursday to spirituality Tuesday, so it can be throwback Thursday. I think it'll be better in some ways because then, like, I can finish off the week with a retro game and just kind of chill with it. Is there significance to Jesus either rebuking the storm first before talking to the disciples or rebuking it after in Matthew and Mark's Gospels? I feel like I've heard there's a spiritual significance to that, but I don't remember what it is. That is actually a really good question, and off the top of my head, I don't know of one, but I think one could be drawn out of it, if that makes sense. Like I could see the more mystically minded drawing upon those differences to draw out a reflection and a meaning from it. What that might be, I will be honest, I wouldn't know off the top of my head. Don't even remember where this guy started. It's part of the problem. I'd like to get to Akko. Thieves. After every move or travel action, that prophet loses resources if they have any. Concern it! Yeah, I feel like there could be something drawn in terms of, like, reflecting on Christ either... what's the word I'm looking... I guess the relationship between asking and being given all beforehand. You know, who initiates the change. So I think I want to keep this dude up here. A thief appears! Jerk. A thief appears! This could get a little difficult. But I think I want to move... I'm going to trigger that so I can... Because that applies a permanent thing to Bethel. So I'm thinking is if I travel here to Mount Nebo and I move over to Bethel. Wait, no, that's, well, that's okay. Speaking of, the calming of the waves, today's Rotida is, I really actually wanted Blessed to go there. Wish there was an undo button. Oh well. Maybe we'll move him to Samaria, start clearing out this area. Anyway, for the Rotida, Jesus calms the waves, and the thing is that like these guys who are scared, several of them are fishermen. Like they know a bad storm, and yet Jesus calms them and says, you know, don't be afraid. And it's not in a patronizing way, but in a way of saying, yeah, there are some terrifying things in the world, and it's going to happen. But Jesus still walks with us and grants us that peace of heart in the midst of it. They stole my whole cow. I should probably have gone to Shiloh first. Line drawn. The maximum amount of sin clouds required for you to lose is lowered by 3, and for idols 1. This game is interesting. I'm really drawn in by these mechanics. These are really interesting. How could you steal half a cow? Still leaves you minus a cow. Well, yeah, but unhelpful. Let's get a resource. Okay, so I have enough to make an altar. So let's go to Jabesh Gilead. Let's make an altar and preach so we can clear out the skies. I'm actually fine with that staying where it is, because I can preach here. I can acquire a resource, and the next turn he can make an altar. Still a cow? How rustler of you. Famine upon the land. Each prophet has half their grain discarded, rounding up. If grain is drawn from the acquire resource round, then it will be discarded. That's rude. Aram! Right where I have some... Judah! Yeah! He's like, no! It's okay. Jericho can be a den of sin and iniquity. Oh. Meep? Meep? Where are you, Meep? Oh, no, that's Modpole. I saw the M and I was like, oh, that's Meep. Step Zero, or Gale, if you're there, what do you want to do as a... So I have to spend my entire turn. So I guess... gather a bunch of resources. There we go. Temple. All right, I only need 2 more temples to win. I didn't even see what... Philistine victory! Mount Gilboa gains 2 sin clouds and sin spreads from Philistia. is praying before Mass actually part of Mass or just something people do? I obviously notice a lot of people doing it, but I can't seem to find any requirements surrounding it. Is there one? Is there a requirement? No. I mean, obviously you can walk in right at, because Mass officially starts when the priest says, "In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen," and is concluded at the dismissal. So even technically the opening hymn and recessional hymn aren't part of the Mass. They're still good things, and they lead us spiritually and metaphorically into the moment, so they're good. That said, it's kind of like, studying for a test. Do you have to say for a test? Not really. I mean, if you want to get technical, nothing's stopping you, but it's still good to do. It's a way of preparing yourself, calming your heart, stepping into what you need to, bringing what you need to before God in the moment of Mass. Let's preach a couple times. So it's it's a good pious practice to help us be ready for what happens in Mass. So in that sense, it's good and necessary, but it's not like, if you walk in and you're like, oh, Mass is literally starting. It's like, no, you can still go. You can still absolutely participate. I thought I could. Oh no, I need a grain as well to make a sacrifice, don't I? No, quit giving me wood! Ah! I just got enough. A really cool thought reflection on the whole calming of the waves a couple weeks ago. It's been cool seeing it come up a couple times lately. Hey, that's great. Isn't it nice when scripture, especially the lectionary, resonates with what's going on in our heart? You go, oh, yeah, God is speaking to me. Humility. Each prophet must immediately discard one of their resources to remove a sin cloud from anywhere on the map. Wisdom given. Look at the next 5 locations that will increase sin and arrange them in any order. Well, may as well do that this turn. Stitch of wood. Good, that cleared out a good amount of clouds. I can remove from anywhere on the map. That's sick. Keeping it 100 here, I don't think we've ever prayed before, and I don't know what I would, which is why I wanted to make sure I haven't been doing something terribly wrong beforehand. If I was, I figured out something, but it would have been felt very forced. Yeah, and you have to come. It is a relationship. You got to come to it yourself and what works for you. I grew up. My parents would serve at Mass as Eucharistic ministers and lectors, so we'd often get there early, and I was also an altar server, so just kind of being at church early is just something I do. I mean, classic recommendations are, I think, the rosary is always a classic go-to, but I think a good one, especially for a Sunday Mass, is more something akin to an examine, just kind of examining your week in prayer and being like, okay, what happened? What are the moments where I saw God that I want to say thank you for? What are the moments where I was weak and I want more help with, more strength with? And bringing those to God. Oh yeah, no, I didn't think you were against prayer at all. We all figure it out in our own way. And for some people, the time before Mass is a social time. And, I know some people are like, oh, the church isn't a social place. It is. It's a family. We absolutely have the place to, there's having respect and letting there be a quiet space in the sanctuary. But, in the back of the church or in the nave or the lobby, yeah, absolutely. And for some people, that is the prayer, being in the midst of the community. There was apparently a tie against if I will triumph against sin or the game will. Take a look at a prayer book and see if it has some good stuff to pray. Yeah, I mean, honestly, there are great prayer books out there. Liturgy of the Hours. So I want to remove... I'll say probably... Yeah, one from Hamath and one from Mount Nebo. I don't really want those to start generating idols. Church absolutely should be a social place. Yep. I think you found yourself a good parish, Brayherd. Okay, so I need to start making some more altars. I need to get 2 more. So I may as well move to Joppa. Let's see what I get. I didn't really want more grain. Let's move to Afek, because then we can at least preach at them. What a prayer routine... I normally do an examination of conscience in Irenaeus style. Nice. Nothing he has routine for the beginning of the day? Probably does. Ranking prayer before he stepped out. Well, I wasn't really ranking. I was just giving options. Can sins within each other be better or worse than others? I mean, sin is sin. There is no such thing as a sin that's better than another sin. But we can still talk about them in venial and mortal and like what that means in relationship to each other and others. Lesser of two evils, as it were. I would never call it better. So much stone! I don't need this much stone! I don't need this much cow! I am going to use this to look at the next 5. Oh, there it is. I was looking for a pop-up or something. Oh, it ranked this. I think that was that was the mod poll. I didn't write that. Okay, 1st to 5th. Chinnereth doesn't have one. I don't know what shall be again is. Let's find out together. I don't really want Assyria or Moab to trigger because those are both areas. So Megiddo, I guess. Ammonites driven out. Remove all sin clouds from Jabesh Gilead. Ooh, nice. Sometimes Sunday Mass I mentally just go through and pray for all the things people have asked me for. That's a good way to do it. Brimstone and fire, foretold event. After 2 or more sin and punishments, a location containing the most sin clouds will be destroyed, and there cannot be entered again. Any altars will also be destroyed. No, I don't like that. I don't like that. King turns on God, destroy any altar in Samaria and add an idol. Well, this game is rude. Shall be again. Discard locations are shuffled and placed on the top of the location deck. Discards then remove. Oh, okay. So that resets the deck basically, which isn't a bad thing. You need gold. That's not gold. That's not gold. That's not gold. There we go. I guess he'll probably move down to Samaria to build that altar there. Okay. Okay. I don't need 3 cow. St. Thomas Aquinas also has a prayer before Mass. You can pray. Yep, that. Pursued on the mountains. Prophets may not enter a mount location this round. Any player on their mount location must leave it as their first action. Rude. Oh, Dingo's fetid kidneys. Mount Nebo's gonna get an idol. There's too much sin in this nation. I feel like I understand what God was going through. All the cow have a barbecue. Yes, gold. Okay, great. We can make an altar. In fact, we can even do a sacrifice, although that doesn't do us anything at this stage. You know what? I'm going to travel to... Gonna travel to Dor, eating a cow along the way. Gifts from the sea. Okay, you have everything. Oh, right, you need to leave the mount because it's... We've been chased out of it. Well, smashing the idol just takes 2, but I can build my own altar. And then we're only 1 altar shy. Don't come to Utah. Mount Nebo is here as well. I don't remember that. Probably never paid that much attention. Hey, Mel. Come on in. Good to see you. I would just get rid of Sin Cloud and Ebel, which isn't amazing. So I guess I'll probably just go for the resource. Another brimstone and fire. Oh no, that was it. Resolving. Dang it, that sent me back on an altar. I'm doing well. I'm a little frustrated at the sins of these people. I've had it up to here with these sitting Sumerians. We only have a few more turns. Okay, so he only needs stone to make his altar. He needs gold and wood. I would have been sick if that was wood. Is there a reason why we don't have a second reading on weekdays aside from mass length / brevity? I think that's really it, and it's actually the mass for the Western Mass, and you still see this in the East. It often would only have an epistle and a gospel. The addition of so in many ways, it's actually more that Mass was always like that, and then for Sunday Mass we added an Old Testament reading intentionally after the Second Vatican Council. As a way to encounter more of Scripture and hear from more of it. Each prophet must discard half their cattle resources. That's fine. Menahem, take my cattle. Isn't it to keep Sunday more special? Yeah, exactly. It's to make Sunday more special and... Okay. Yes! Let's go! Let's go! We got the resource we need. Build an altar. Travel to Bethel. So then I can give... I wanted to give something. But I'm going to activate that. There's 2 Sin Clouds there. I don't like that. I was hoping I could get that stone given over. What happened to my Nebo? I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about the crater. Things have happened. Sin has occurred. Yeah, you like the Old Testament. You just don't use it. You save it more for Vespers and stuff. Yeah. Come on, stone. Actually, you know what? I'll do this. I'll give wood. We'll get some spare gold. Why not? And we'll preach. Because then the two of them can clear out the sin clouds. Shiloh receives 2 sin clouds, and any altar in Shiloh is destroyed. Stop! Okay, good. I don't have an altar in Shiloh. Oh, this is going to be close. That's going to make an idol. Yeah, look how close this... Woo! That was clutch. We were 2 sin clouds away. We were 2 turns away. That was dang close. Whew. But we did it. Okay, how do I level up, though? Like, I got all this gold, but I'm still level 1. How much do I have to... Let's try study. Study the Bible and answer questions while playing the game, and we'll be rewarded. Okay, so 7 altars. All of that's the same. Determined. After building an altar, all sin clouds and idols are removed from that location. That is really nice. Determined is really powerful. Blessed. I like blessed. That prophet uses this gains a second ability. We used that last time and I didn't know what it did. The Dothan prophet. This is a permanent effect. Whenever Dothan is without sin clouds and idols, the next location to receive sin will be revealed. Whenever a prophet is in Dothan, sin cannot spread from Aram. Okay. Who is probably the most famous judge to lead Israel before the kings? Well, literally only one of these is a judge. Anyway, Britt, you have a question. In the passage about being rejected in your native place, do we know anything about what mighty deeds he was unable to perform there due to lack of faith? I mean, generally the mighty deeds are the healings and whatnot. You know, so it's generally referred to in a way of saying, you know, he didn't cure anyone. It says no mighty... He cured Fusek. Like, it's this really weird tension in the gospel where they really want to say, he didn't do anything, but also he did a few things, but don't worry about it. Because they are like, we still want Jesus to be, you know, heavenly and giving these blessings. So it's kind of like, what kind of healing was it, and to what degree, and what level of publicity was it? Obviously, he wasn't doing any exorcisms or any walking on water. But there's just that sort of not hilarious, but ironic tension in the gospel itself, where it's like, I will do nothing. Oh, I'm gonna do a few things still. Okay, there's Dothan. I may as well just activate that. That's just a permanent effect. Okay, so Kadesh is the next place to get some sin. Who is that? Is that the false prophet? That must be the false prophet. Or no, that's the Dothan prophet. They just get a marker permanently. Gotta work. All right, good to see you, Mel. You take care. Oh, so now he's also a martyr. Prevent a location from receiving Sin Cloud and prevent a sin and punishment card from occurring. He's moved back to door and loses all resources once per game. Okay. So much cow. Let's preach. Let's gather a resource. I wish it would show me what the resource I get is. Rejected materials. This becomes a permanent action for the prophet that uses it. Once per turn, the prophet may discard 2 of their resource cards, take a resource card from the resource deck. Okay, so if I have double up on something... Kadesh is the location of the largest chariot battle in history, following the oldest peace treaty preserved written record between Egypt and the Hittites. Huh. The more you know. I tend to think of Kadesh because it shows up in one of the Psalms, riding the oak tree bear. At what point Satan enticed David to take a census of Israel in a way displeasing to God? What options did God not give David as punishment through the prophet Gad? 3 days of plague, 3 days of hail, 3 days of running away from his enemies, 3 years of famine. I don't know off the top of my head. Let's find out, though. Because this lets you go to Bible Gateway. Takes you right there. That's actually kind of neat. As like a Bible study tool, that's actually kind of fine integration. I like it. Satan rose up against Israel and incited David to take a census of Israel. So David said to Joab and the commanders of the troops, "Go and count the Israelites from Beersheba to Dan. Then report back to me so that I may know how many there are." But Joab replied, "May the Lord multiply his troops 100 times over. My lord, the king, are they not all my lord's subjects? Why does the Lord want to do this? Why should he bring guilt on Israel?" The king's word, however, overruled Joab. So Joab left and went throughout Israel and then came back to Jerusalem. Joab reported the number of the fighting men to David. In all Israel, there are 100,100,000 men who could handle a sword, including 470,000 in Judah. But Joab did not include Levi and Benjamin in the numbering because of the king's command. King's command was repulsive to him. His command was also evil in the sight of God, so he punished Israel. Then David said to God, "I have sinned greatly by doing this. Now I beg you, take away the guilt of your servant. I have done a very foolish thing." The Lord said to Gad, David's seer, which is interesting because it's Nathan in Book of Kings, "Go and tell David, this is what the Lord says. I am giving you 3 options. Choose one of them to carry out against you." So Gad went to David and said to him, "This is what the Lord says. Take your choice. 3 years of famine, 3 months of being swept away by your enemies, with their swords overtaking you, or 3 days of the sword of the Lord, days of plague in the land, with the angel of the Lord ravaging every part of Israel. Now then, decide what I should answer the one who sent me." David said to Gad, "I am in deep distress. Let me fall into the hands of the Lord, for his mercy is great, but do not let me fall into human hands." So the Lord sent a plague upon Israel, and 70,000 men of Israel fell dead. Oh, that's... Yeah, Bible Gateway is really nice because you can do the comparison of the languages. Intralinear is what it's referred to as. Anyway, it was the 3 days of hail, and what's funny is it's not even 3 years of running away from his enemies, it was 3 months. Sure, we'll give him that ability. Because then we can do away with that. Oh, it's only in the discard zone. Oh, interesting. Set up to Chinnereth. Any idol in the prophet's first location is immediately removed. Great. Get the free altar in Bethel. We like that. Thanks, Philistia. Wow, just all the nations. How was Solomon punished for having too much wealth, wives, and horses? Israel was torn in two. Solomon was greatly depressed and wrote about it in the Song of Songs. That's not what the Song of Songs is about. Israel was attacked by the Assyrians. Solomon died a poor man. Well, it wasn't poor man. I guess it was because Israel was torn in two, but I wanted... The attack from the Assyrians happened later. One of the interesting things that you can do with Bible Gateway is look at Isaiah 34 and then see the translations of the name Lilith, the only time it appears in the Bible. Which translations come up with other phrases like night owl or something because of... I thought Ecclesiastes was the one where Solomon was depressed. Yeah, exactly. That's why... That's not punishment. That was just Solomon being Solomon. Israel was torn in two. You know, the kingdom that we're taking... That is all taking place in. Ooh, we could build an altar. In fact, we could build an altar and do a sacrifice. And still have one movement left. Well, may as well remove the idol from Dan. Dan, quit having idols. Now I know there's a gold in here because we put it there. Reach, get a resource. Sweet. That's the button I'm looking for. Request forgiveness. Discard a sin and punishment card and draw a new one. I don't hate that. Sin spreads from Aram, and any prophet that starts their turn adjacent to Aram loses one action point. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's not great because it affects Blessed here. What did evil Jeroboam the first begin in Israel? Made the Israelites worship golden calves he built. Was the first king to raise his children, so there were nothing good to be found in them. Was the first king to marry many foreign women. Well, that's not true. Appoint priests from the tribes other than those chosen from the tribe of Dan. I guess it's the calves. You know, the thing that's happening in this game. Well, let's gather a resource. Make an altar. And... cancel. Let's just preach. Let's clear out that sin cloud. Tear down an idol. Move him way down to Carmel. Take an extra action point to acquire a resource this round. No one may travel by sea. No. In Deuteronomy, what did God tell future kings not to acquire? The king should not acquire large amounts of jewel and cattle, should not acquire large amounts of slaves and land, Should not acquire large amounts of gold, silver, wives, and horses, and should not acquire a large amount of foreign scrolls and craftsmen. Now, I have read this before because I've read the whole of Deuteronomy. I've read the whole Pentateuch. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, and you have taken possession of it and settled in it, and you say, "Let us set a king over us like all the nations around us. Be sure to appoint over you a king of the Lord your God chooses. You must be among them your fellow Israelites. Do not place a foreigner over you, one who is not an Israelite. The king, moreover, who must not acquire a great number of horses for himself, or make the people return to Egypt to get more of them, for the Lord has told you, you shall not go back that way. You must not take many wives, or his heart will be led astray. You must not accumulate large amounts of silver or gold." Well, that answers that question. It's just weird the way it was worded with gold, silver, horses, and wives. I have a lot of passive abilities. Oh, Marie, what do you have for us? Each prophet must immediately move to the nearest mount location of... no, request forgiveness. Any prophet who does not either remove 2 sin clouds or an idol has all their resources discarded. Okay, that's actually less of a problem. Believe it or not. Ooh, I actually wanted to respond to that. No, I was trying to respond to Hamath getting an idol. Who did Barak and Deborah defeat at Mount Tabor? A wall of text, apparently. Again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, now that Ehud was dead. So the Lord sold them into the hands of Jabin, king of Canaan, who reigned in Hazor. Sisera, the commander of his army, was based in Harosheth Hagoyim. Because he had 900 chariots fitted with iron and cruelly oppressed the Israelites for 20 years, they cried to the Lord for help. Now Deborah, a prophet, wife of Lapidoth, was leading Israel at the time. She held court under the palm of Deborah under Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim. And the Israelites went up to her to have their dispute decided. She sent for Barak, son of Abinoam, from Kadesh of Naphtali, and said to him, "The Lord God of Israel commands you, go with the 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun, and lead them to Mount Tabor. I will lead Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and troops to the Kishon River, and give them into your hands." Barak said to her, "If you go with me, I will go, but if you do not go with me, I won't go." "Certainly I will go with you," said Deborah. "But because of the course you are taking, the honor will not be yours, for the Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman." So Deborah went with Barak and Kadesh. There Barak summoned Zebulun and Naphtali, and 10,000 men went up under his command. Deborah went up also with him. Now Heber the Kenite had left other Kenites, the descendants of Hobab, Moses' brother-in-law, and pitched his tent by the great tree of Zananim near Kadesh. When they told Sisera that Barak, son of Abinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor, Sisera summoned from Harosheth Hagoyim to the Kishon River all his men and his 900 chariots fitted with iron. Then Deborah said to Barak, "Go, this is the day the Lord has given to Sisera into your hands. He has not the Lord gone ahead of you?" So Barak went down from Mount Tabor with 10,000 men following him. At Barak's advance, the Lord routed Sisera and all his chariots and army by the sword, and Sisera got down from his chariot and fled on foot. Barak pursued the chariots and the army as far as Harosheth Hagoyim, and all of Sisera's troops fell by the sword. Not a man was left. Sisera, meanwhile, fled on foot to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, because there was an alliance between Jabin king of Hazor and the family of Heber the Kenite. Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Come, my lord, come right in, don't be afraid." So he entered her tent, and she covered him with a blanket. "I'm thirsty," he said. "Please give me some water." She opened a skin of milk, gave him a drink, and covered him up. "Stand in the doorway of the tent," he told her. "If someone comes by and asks you, is anyone there, say no." But Jael, Heber's wife, picked up a tent peg and went quietly to him while he lay fast asleep, exhausted. She drove the peg through his temple into the ground, and he died. Just then Barak came by pursuit of Sisera, and Jael went out to meet him. "Come, and I will show you the man you are looking for." So he went in with her and lay Sisera with a tent peg through his temple, dead. On that day, God subdued Jabin, king of Canaan, before the Israelites, and the hand of Israelites pressed harder and harder upon Jabin, king of Canaan, until they destroyed him. Don't mess with Jael. Canaanites. So I actually have an idea for an icon I'd love to have painted at some point called the Synaxarion of Holy Women. And what it is it's a holy women who are not, the quiet, pious type, which is nothing wrong with that. That is a wonderful and beautiful life, but it's more the women like Jael from Old Testament and New Testament and from the life of the church who were, St. Joan of Arc, women saints who were very active and out there. Hey, Clutch, welcome. I got an altar to go a false altar to go knock over. Get wrecked, nerds. Yeah, I lost all my resources because I was trying to block that, but with the martyr ability, figuring out the timing in this game is still a little weird. Yeah, sail to Jaffa. St. Paul will be here in a couple centuries. Ahab, hoarding wealth. Resource size limit is 3 this round. Any prophet who has more than 3 resources must discard down to 3. That's rough. Because remember, it takes 3 resources to build an altar. I'd love to see the letters of Paul today or emails. Oof. What evil thing did Ahab not do during his reign? Persecute God's idols, submit to the Egyptians, marry an evil wife, build a false idol. I'm going to guess it's the Egyptians. Okay. I'm in spreadsheet land, so I'm not able to totally pay attention, but this definitely sounds like Catan with the extra steps. Yeah. It's kind of like one-player Catan with extra steps, and I don't hate it. If y'all could, how are we doing? We've been better, but I just got a text. If you just pray for the repose of the soul of a woman named Amarita, she was just visiting New York, honestly, with her husband, and she fell ill, and she just passed away. So we're gonna apparently have a small funeral mass for her tomorrow. But just Lord, we commend into your hands the soul of Amarita and ask for the consolation of her husband Rahul. Be with him, grant him consolation, safe journeys home for him, and to be with him again in this time of mourning. Ask all this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Okay, we're about halfway. We're almost to Jehu, so we get a blessing next turn, which is very handy. Locations are drawn and discarded until a nation is drawn. sin spreads from that nation. Okay. Well, that wasn't too bad. That was Phoenicia. What was important about Joshua capturing Hazor? Hazor was the only walled capital in Canaan. Hazor's only walled city. Used to be the capital of Israel, ahead of northern kingdoms of Canaan. Last city of the Israelites needed to burn down. Well, let's find out. When Jabin, king of Hazor, heard this, hey, we heard about that in Judges. He sent word to Jobab, king of Madon, to the kings of Shimron and Akshaph, and to the northern kings who were in the mountains, in the Arabah south of Kinnereth, the western foothills, and in Naphoth Dor in the west, to the Canaanites in the east and the west, to the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, and Jebusites in the hill country, and to the Hivites below Hermon in the region of Mizpah. They came out with all their troops and a large number of horses and chariots, a huge army, as numerous as the sand on the seashore. All the kings joined forces and made camp together at the waters of Merom to fight against Israel. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, because by this time tomorrow I will hand all of them slain over to Israel. You are to hamstring their horses and burn their chariots." So Joshua and his whole army came against them suddenly at the waters of Merom and attacked them. And the Lord gave them the hand of Israel. They defeated and pursued them all the way to Greater Sidon, to Misrephoth, Maim, and the valley of Mizpah on the east, until no survivors were left. Joshua did to them as the Lord directed. He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots. At that time Joshua turned back and captured Hazor and put its kings to the sword. Hazor had been the head of all these kingdoms. Everyone in it was put to the sword, totally destroyed, not sparing them, burning Hazor itself. Lots of ites. Yeah, a lot of little different tribes amongst the Canaanites. I guess. Okay. I wasn't. Based on the reading, I didn't really understand what it wanted. Okay, we only need 3 more altars. Honestly, this trade out resources thing has been a godsend. Fed by ravens. Any prophet who ends a move in Jabesh Gilead may take the top resource from the discard if it's either cattle or grain. Okay, that's honestly kind of niche. Gather the flock. Whenever the prophet ends a move action at a new location this round, they remove a sin cloud from that location for free. Yes! That's pretty sick. The Hittites. What king built idols in Samaria during his reign, provoking God to much anger? Well, based on the fact that it's First Kings, I'm guessing it's Jeroboam, but let's double check. In the 28th year of Asa, king of Judah, Ahab, son of Omri, became king of Israel, and as he reigned in Samaria, Ahab, son of Omri, did more evil in the eyes of the Lord, not considered trivial to commit sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, but also married Jezebel, daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and began to serve Baal. He set up an altar to Baal. Okay, so it was Ahab. We all suffer from something. It's the itis in us. Oh shoot, I should have activated that ability. Well, we can activate that one because it's a permanent. May as well preach twice there because I don't want to have something in the corner wind up with an idol. That would be bad. Wait, what happened to his ability to trade out resources? Oh, is the discard pile empty? Dang it! The discard pile's empty. I didn't even know that was possible. Alright, only bad kings from here on out. Fun fact, Portugal. We have a town called Nazareth, about 50 miles from Fatima. So you thought Christ was Portuguese. That's fair. May not enter a mountain and have to leave a mountain. Aw, you mean like Mount Nebo? Discard locations are shuffled. Okay. No, that's an idol in Tabor! Or maybe it was just a cloud. What group were oppressing Israel during Jehoahaz's reign? Edomites, Arameans, Ammonites, Philistines. I believe Philistines. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Yep. Kept them under the power of Hazael, king of Aram, and Ben-Hadad. So, Aramites, I guess? Arameans? TLTR of King's Chronicles. David was far from perfect. He was good at being a king. Everyone else just kept getting worse and worse until the Assyrians showed up. I mean, you're not wrong. Oh, right, I can't enter a mount this turn. Well, may as well get some resources. None of those are gold. Well, let's move you to Jericho. Let's move you... Sure, why not? And turn it here. Take a cow resource. Speaking of Baal, does the mountain that the battle/contest of Baal took place on have a name on it, or is it just mountain? I've seen the mountain, but forget if it had a name. Ooh. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know the scripture story. I don't remember. Well, we can ditch some gold so the other guy can have it. Jehoash. After every move or travel action, lose a resource. Well, it's not the worst. I think it does have a name, but I can't remember. I'm not always the best with that sort of knowledge. Jehoash spoke to the prophet Elisha about his problems with attacking the Arameans. What did Elisha tell him to do? Elisha told him to hit the ground with the arrow, which Jehoash did 5 times. Tear his cloak in half. Shoot an arrow out of a window. Make a sacrifice to God. Open the east window. Shoot. Well, that answers that. Do you know which book that's in? That would be in... it's in either 1st or 2nd Kings, because it's with Elijah. What should we discard? I guess we'll discard a gold. Let's travel to Akko, spending a cattle. Oh no, a thief. Come on, I just need stone. Thank you. Next turn, he can make an altar. I believe he grabs some gold. He can make an altar. Let's offer a sacrifice, get a blessing. Do some resource collecting. Humility. Each prophet may immediately discard one of their resources to remove a sin cloud from anywhere on the map. Okay. King's turn on God. Destroy any altar in Samaria. No! God darn it! I was going to win this turn. These people. These kings. The prophets did not always completely follow God. Ain't that the truth? In what two notable ways did both Elijah and Jonah disobey God? They both ran away from their job and wished they were dead. They both lived a wealthy lifestyle and lied about their name. Both ran away from their job and lied about their name. They both wished they were dead and lied about their name. I mean, they both ran away. Was it that they wished they were dead, or that they... I think it's that they wish they were dead. Yeah. Probably go with before something something. Surely I have gold in here. Yes. And we win. Haha, he tried to destroy my my altar. But I came back. This is a fun little... I actually am thoroughly enjoying myself. Gain blessings from sacrifices, yes. Bible study questions, yes. There, we'll have 3 prophets, a false prophet. No, don't do that. Don't do what? Have fun? Am I not allowed to have fun? Is fun verboten? No more fun? Okay, so we have a martyr. Do take away your altar. Martyr can prevent a location from receiving a sin cloud or prevent a sin and punishment card occurring once per game. Merchant can hold up to 8 resources. Let's go. Merchant profit, apparently. Preaching the good word of capitalism. Determined. Build an altar. All sin and idol are removed from that location. That's also very powerful. Really giving. At the end of this round, each player will gain resources until they have 3. Any prophet with more than 3 resources has all their resources discarded. Huh. What did Jeroboam the First build at Bethel? Shrine to Moloch, gold calf, altar to Baal, Asherah pole. Jeroboam thought to himself, the kingdom will now likely revert to the house of David. If these people go up to offer sacrifice at the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem, they will again give their allegiance to the Lord, Rehoboam, king of Judah. They will kill me and return to King Rehoboam. After seeking advice, the king made 2 golden calves that worked out so well for your ancestors. He said to the people, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Here are your gods, Israel, who brought you out of Egypt. Apparently it's Mount Carmel. Now you're more confused? Why are you more confused? That tracks. Elijah's tied to Mount Carmel. It wasn't a golden calf, it was 2. Okay. So where's the false prophet at? Maybe he doesn't appear on the map. Maybe he just does stuff. I don't feel like this is better at the end game to activate that. However, this dude can just build a temple or build an altar right away. We saw Mount Precipice, and there's like 45 kilometers apart, and didn't seem that far away. Yeah, but I mean, have you walked 45 kilometers on foot? Oh, no, no, no. No idols here. Get out. Altar in Bethel? That would have been handy like a turn ago. Who was Ishbosheth? He was Saul's son. We talked about this. It just felt way closer. Yeah, I mean, I think our modern sensitivities of like what's close and what's not is shaped by how we get around. Has anyone at Busted Halo watched your streams before? If so, what do they think? It's a funny story about my coworkers watching my streams. They did actually watch some when it was first getting going. But I think it was last week I was making, like, Crimsonite mentioned that they went to Harvard, and I made a Harvard joke. And my coworker, who is from Massachusetts, happened to tune in just at that moment. And so gave me a hard time about it the next day. Also, one of my coworkers sometimes sees me, like, playing Castlevania in particular. It's like, oh. Each path may immediately move to any location that contains either sin clouds or an idol. Ooh. Zippity Zuda. Yeah, my coworkers are very supportive of this ministry, which is very awesome. I really need to get rid of these idols. Who is David's father? Jesse! I don't even have to think about that one. I just know that one. Put Father Dave in VR on stream. I want to. I really want to at some point, but I need to figure out some tech, time, and filming location to do it. Are you saying they're happy with how it's... I mean, they keep letting me do it. No, I think we've all been very pleased with the results. Sure, we'll do altar in Bethel. Each prophet may immediately... I'm going to save that until after this guy's gone. What is David's hometown? Oh, gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, it starts with a Q. Bethlehem. Wrestling Father Dave to the ground. I mean, do I know anyone else from Bethlehem? Anyone else from Bethlehem? Hey, chat, do you know anyone from Bethlehem? You know what, Jericho? You get an altar. Anyone else from Scripture ever show up from Bethlehem? Get dunked on, Mount Nebo. No idols for you. Solomon. Move all sin clouds from one prophet's location. Ooh. So Solomon has a false prophet. He's in Samaria. How is Solomon punished for having too much Israel was turning to? We already got that question. Besides Jesus? Yes, that was the joke. You know what? I feel like now is a good time to use this. I need to go have a preaching battle with a false prophet. Oh, you can't preach where there's a false prophet. Tries to destroy altars, makes sacrifice to idols, and corrupts Israel. Moves after the prophets do, while trying to avoid them. You cannot remove sin or idols in his location. Interesting. I wonder what happens if I do a sacrifice. I know someone from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, whose parents names are Joseph and Mary. Do you ever figure out what was going on biologically speaking with Jesse being a grape, David being an asparagus, and David's brothers including 2 gourds? GMOs, my dude. Hey, that zapped the false prophet out. And it'll give us a blessing, which is pretty nice. Cool. Swap out a sin card. Place idols in both Bethel and Dan. This false prophet, my dude. I like that he has a cape. It really adds a certain je ne sais quoi of his evil. Yeah, Mount Nebo is back. It got undestroyed because new game. What leader did not fight the Ammonites? Well, Saul's gonna be first. First Samuel. Second Samuel's gonna be David. Omri is up here, who would not be in Judges. We have. This is actually the third game. We won both of the first 2. Just gonna gather some resources for him. Actually, let's move him to Chinrith. Let's remove some clouds. I have so many resources, but none of them are helpful. We're only gone for 10 minutes. Yeah, well, game 1 and 2. The one downside about this game is there's only one map. Ta-da! Famine upon the land. Each prophet has half their grain. Yeah, okay. Whose name did God call 3 times in Shiloh? Gosh, in the book of Samuel, got called upon 3 times in Shiloh. Is it Moses? Ezekiel? David? Could it be Samuel? Of 1 Samuel? No, that's too easy. It's too obvious. Okay, so fun fact. This is actually something I really find fascinating myself about Scripture, particularly the Old Testament. When we think of the Temple of Israel, we think of the temple in Jerusalem. There's the one temple. People would travel to go to it. And before the creation of the temple, people would make altars, and even afterward, people would make altars in various places like this. But what's interesting is Shiloh is referred to as the temple at Shiloh. There were, in fact, other temples to God predating the temple in Jerusalem, and it's likely, sort of politically and theologically speaking, and ecclesiastically speaking, that the one temple was built and they wanted to unify the worship, so they disavowed the use of the other temples. So just something interesting. Basha. Locations are drawn and discarded until a nation. Okay. That's fine. Shall be again. No, I don't really care about door. In Deuteronomy, what things did God tell future kings not to acquire? It's gratuitous educational content. I mean, what else do you really come here for? Well, may as well do a temple and a sacrifice, or an altar and a sacrifice. Nope, did it trigger? Did it not? All right, good to see you, Britt. You take care. No, it looks like the stream overlay stuff isn't working today for some reason. You think it did? Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, there it goes. It's just by the time I noticed it, I guess it was over. Maybe I should increase the time that goes. Let's go knock over an idol. What up, dudes? Here knocking over another idol. Okay, we have enough to build the or build an altar. That's pretty sweet. When using preach action, it will remove all sin clouds from the location for 1 round only. That's a really good blessing, actually. Father has redeemed a father joke. So Trekkie for Christ. Why did the orange lose the race? It ran out of juice. Take an extra action point to perform the preach action this round. That's okay, because we can use the extra special thing. What was divided up in Shiloh? That was certainly a joke. Yep. I thought he had lost his peel. Well, that's just why he wasn't popular anymore. He didn't have a peel. So, Jet, how long will you wait before you begin to take possession of the land of the Lord your God? The God of your ancestors has given you. Appoint 3 men among each tribe. I will send them out to make a survey of the land and write a description of it according to the inheritance of each. Then they will return to me in order to divide the land into 7 parts. Judah is to remain its territory on the south, and the tribes of Joseph in the territory of the north. After you have written descriptions of the 7 parts of the land, bring them here to me, and I will cast lots for you in the presence of the Lord our God. The Levites, however, do not get a portion among you, because the priestly service of the Lord is their inheritance. And Gad, Reuben, and half-tribe Manasseh have already received their inheritance on the east side of the Jordan. Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave it to them. Yep, that answers that question. These jokes aren't very popular, and yet you will keep asking for them. Each prophet may not build an altar or draw more than 2 resources. No! May not enter a mountain. That's actually fine. Oh, shoot. Ah, dang it. I actually wanted to activate the martyr there. What person was dedicated to God at Shiloh? Again, a question from 1 Samuel. I wonder if it's Samuel. I know he doesn't appear much in 2 Samuel. Build an altar. Offer a sacrifice. Let's get a resource. Let's get you moving. Let's get you up to door. Since we're going to need to use 2, may as well use that ability. Cool. Next turn we can knock down the idol and build an altar there. How do you activate a martyr? A match? Sharpening iron. All prophets receive a permanent action. Once per round, a single prophet may give a prophet 1 resource free if both are in the same location. Oh, well, that's nice. It takes an extra action point to acquire a resource this round. No one may travel by sea. Brrr. Tirza is fine. Yeah, well. Oh, why did I do that? I didn't realize that was the prophet up. That was the martyr up there. Oh. Well, I guess it was 6 of one, half dozen of another in terms of, like, idols. Ooh, who committed suicide rather than... Saul took his own sword and fell on it. He can give something, but I don't think he needs to. Go back to Akko. Knock that down. Was that an Allergy of the Hours yesterday? It might have been. I do not always have the best memory of what happens in Allergy of the Hours. I'm so close. I really feel like just gathering resources is the most important here at this point. Maybe that's where I should have used freely. Whatever. See, I need to send someone chasing after him so that where he is doesn't get a third cloud. Prophets rescued. Each prophet must immediately move nearest mount location. Okay, that wasn't terrible. Who is famously sold in slavery at Dothan? Joseph. It's amazing to... Saul following his sword, an immigrant comes and tells David that finished him off since he was mortally wounded himself. Can't remember which part of the liturgy he's in. Yeah. Ark lost. Shiloh receives 2 sin clouds. No, you destroyed it all. Concern it. Quit destroying my altars. You jerks. I lost. I lost in the reign of King Joram. Rip, go next. Oh, that definitely does get harder with the See, imagine if I did like this, like 4 of the blessings from sacrifices. I would probably get a decent amount, or I could probably do that pretty well. But that's false prophet is tricky. That's a nice element to the gameplay beyond just the randomness. I wish I could understand the level up system, because it's like, have I not leveled up? Maybe when this is full. So I think we're going to call it there rather than start up another game. It's a little early, but speaking of martyrs, I find it very significant on June 23rd, the moment I was finally being received into the Orthodox Church, a parish of the same patronal feast was attacked in Dagestan, and his priest specifically targeted to be killed in retaliation for his daughter marrying former Muslims who became priests. Oof. It was rough, but a beautiful witness nonetheless to the life of faith. So, but I think we're going to call it there for today. I know it's a little earlier than usual, but I don't think there's quite enough to start up another game. But I do want to take another look at this next week. I want to keep playing this a little bit more. That'll probably be the last time we play it. But I think it'll be good to keep looking at it. So join us again tomorrow at 1 p.m. because why would anything be standardized? For Retro Thursday. Yes, I know it's Wednesday, but with the 4th, I'm just moving forward. So it's going to be more Castlevania Symphony of the Night at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. So look forward to that. Thursday, taking it off. It's the 4th. Hope everyone has a great and wonderful holiday if you're celebrating. And then next week, Monday, 1:30 to 4:30, more Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. Tuesday, more Kings of Israel. And Thursday, more Symphony of the Night. Visiting Uncle Bernie again? No. No, not this time. Although I'm glad that some people got that joke. But yeah, and then not next week, but the week after, Wednesdays, we're going to start the weekly Minecraft stream. So I'm really excited to show you the progress I've made on the church that I've been working on. So that should be good. And other than that, thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, giving bits, all that good jazz. Joining the YouTube, joining the Discord. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. I'll see y'all tomorrow, and let's see who's live to raid. Gonna send you all over to Possum Blossoms. She dug herself out of the trash to share some games with you. Now she's a good person, Catholic VTuber. So give her some love, and I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Take care, and God bless.